Good evening, everyone. Let me call to order this meeting of the West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. It is Monday, November 13th, 2023, and the time is 4 p.m. And we will now turn, first item on the agenda is our comments from the public. And we have several cards here, so I'm going to read your names out, and if you want to approach. Carol Katz, Ira Jacobson, and Melissa Berenson. Carol Katz. Please state your name and address when you approach, please.
Carol,
Podium.
Thank you. My name is Carol Katz. I live at 1200 Marine Way, North Palm Beach, Florida, 33408.
Proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I have to say that in this time, I would say that education is the key to eradicating bigotry, and by establishing Memorial, we provide a tangible and immersive experience for students to connect with the past. Visiting a museum dedicated to the Holocaust allows students to witness artifacts, hear survivor testimonies, and gain a first-hand understanding of the consequences of hatred. Moreover, a Holocaust memorial and museum can serve as a beacon of hope, demonstrating that even in the darkest moments of history, resilience, compassion, and the pursuit of justice prevail. It would send a strong message that Palm Beach County is committed to fostering a community that stands united against discrimination and intolerance. In conclusion, the establishment of a Holocaust memorial and museum in Palm Beach County is not only a tribute to the victims and survivors of the Holocaust, but also an investment in the education and moral development of our future leaders. Let us join hands in creating a lasting legacy that promotes understanding, empathy, and commitment to ensuring that the lessons of the past are never forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ira Jacobson.
My name is Ira Jacobson. How are you? Thank you for having me. It's my third time before this distinguished committee, Mayor. I don't really know where to start anymore, to tell you the truth. I don't know what else to say. My entire family basically was wiped out in Czechoslovakia. The other part of the family was wiped out in Kiev, Russia. The only thing I have left are some pictures. 2 out of every 10 people, residents in Palm Beach County, are Jewish. Anti-Semitism is off the charts. And please don't tell me it has anything to do with the Middle East, because I've spoken to everybody here before the war in the Middle East. It was just festering. We all know that. I have fellow congregants, fellow neighbors that have to hide the mezuzah, the Star of David, because they can't walk out. My kids used to go to the Jewish day school. I remember 9/11. As soon as 9/11 hit, we had no cell phones. My beeper went off, and thank God for the police department. They had to surround the Meyer Academy because they thought they were going to be hit next. Do you have any idea what it's like to live like this? I mean, I know a lot of races and creeds have been harmed with racism, but we're going on 3,000 years and it's just getting worse. We need, again, I'll say it again, I'll come back again, I'll say it again, we need to educate our middle school. We need to educate our preschool, our high school. Unless we teach them, this is not going to end. I know that you guys put after the Israel attack, you put a nice news memo out. We're against what Hamas did. Great. Thank you. What did that do? Really, what did it do? We're all against what Hamas did, what the beheading, the raping, the burning of children. Thank you. But unless you decide to help us, to defend us, and that's your job. That's basically what we elect you for, is to defend and help us. And until you do that, I'll be back again and again, because the safety out there is really dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Melissa Berenson.
Hello, my name is Melissa Berenson from Jupiter, Florida, and I want to say good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners and everybody here. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today and to discuss a matter of great significance, the establishment of a Holocaust Memorial and Museum, hopefully here in West Palm, if not Palm Beach County. This endeavor holds particular importance for our community, being that we have the 10th largest school district in the country and the largest Jewish population outside of New York, with a significant amount of the population being Holocaust survivors or children of Holocaust survivors. As we come together, it is essential to recognize that the rising tide of anti-Semitism and the crucial role such a memorial and museum can play in educating and shaping our collective consciousness. The Holocaust was a dark chapter in human history, one that we must never forget. It was a period marked by unimaginable atrocities where millions of innocent lives were lost due to hatred, prejudice, and discrimination. The survivor stories bear witness to the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of standing against injustice. In establishing a Holocaust Memorial and Museum here, we are taking a proactive step towards fostering awareness, tolerance, and understanding. Education is the most powerful tool we have to combat ignorance and bigotry. By providing a tangible space for learning and reflection, we can ensure the lessons of the Holocaust are not lost to history. Palm Beach County, as the 10th largest school district in the nation, has a unique opportunity and responsibility to lead in education and remembrance. The museum would serve as a valuable resource for our students, offering a firsthand look at the consequence of unchecked hatred. It would provide a space for educators to engage students in meaningful conversation about empathy, diversity, and the importance of safeguarding human rights. Moreover, in the face of the alarming resurgence of anti-Semitism, a memorial museum becomes a symbol of our commitment to combating discrimination in all forms. It stands as a testament to our collective resolve to promote tolerance and understanding within our community. The museum would be a living memorial, a place where stories of survivors and the voices of the lost can be heard. It will be a safe space for remembrance, reflection, and most importantly, a call to action. By understanding the past, we empower ourselves to create a future free from hatred and prejudice. In conclusion, the establishment of a memorial museum is not just an investment in preserving history, but an investment in our shared humanity. It is a commitment to shaping a community that values compassion, tolerance, and the protection of human rights. Let us join in this endeavor, ensuring that the lessons of the Holocaust are etched into our hearts and minds, and for future generations, fostering a more just and compassionate society.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Okay, I have three other cards: Charles Wilner, Susan Brokaw, and Ari Fixler. Charles Wilner.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission members. Thank you for hearing me. Today my name is Charles Wilner. I am from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and today I stand before you to advocate for the establishment of a Holocaust Museum and Memorial right here in Palm Beach County, a place that holds the distinction of being the 10th largest school district in the country. In a world where anti-Semitism is on the rise, it is imperative that we take a proactive stance in preserving the memory of one of the darkest chapters in human history. A Holocaust Memorial and Museum in Palm Beach County would serve as an educational beacon for the young minds within our schools. As the 10th largest school district in the nation, we have a responsibility to impart the lessons of history to our children. The Holocaust represents an indelible stain on humanity, and by having a dedicated space for remembrance and education, we can ensure that future generations understand the consequences of hatred, discrimination, and intolerance. Moreover, a local museum and memorial will provide a tangible connection to the past for residents of Palm Beach County. While history books convey the facts and figures, there is an indelible power, an undeniable power, in standing before artifacts and exhibits that bear witness to the atrocities of the Holocaust. This experience fosters empathy and understanding, promoting a culture of tolerance and acceptance within our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Susan Brokaw.
Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I stand before you today to advocate for the establishment...
State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry?
State your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, yes, certainly. It's Susan Brokaw, 410 Evernia Street, apartment 602, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401. Okay, I stand before you today to advocate for the establishment of a Holocaust museum and memorial right here in West Palm Beach. Palm Beach County, as the 10th largest school district in the county, is not just a community, it's an educational powerhouse that shapes the minds and values of countless students. In light of the alarming rise in anti-Semitism, it is imperative that we take a stand against hatred and intolerance by creating a space dedicated to the remembrance of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a very dark chapter in human history, where millions of human lives were lost due to bigotry and discrimination. By having a memorial and a museum in Palm Beach County, we are not only paying tribute to the victims, but also providing an essential educational resource for our students. Our students must be equipped with the knowledge and the awareness to recognize signs of hatred and prejudice, ensuring that history does not repeat itself. Education is a powerful tool, and the Holocaust Memorial and Museum will serve as a living testament to the atrocities committed during that time. It's also going to provide a tangible connection to history, allowing students to engage with the past in a way that textbooks alone cannot accomplish. By witnessing the artifacts, hearing survivor testimonies, and understanding the magnitude of the Holocaust, our students will be better prepared to confront the challenges of the present and of the future. Moreover, anti-Semitism is on the rise globally, and our community is not immune to this disturbing trend. Establishing a Holocaust memorial and museum, it's going to send a clear message that Palm Beach County stands united against hatred. It fosters a culture of tolerance, acceptance, and understanding, promoting the values of compassion and empathy. The memorial will be a beacon of remembrance, a place for reflection, and an educational hub for generations to come. It's going to serve as a constant reminder that we must never forget the lessons of the past, and that it is our collective responsibility, all of our responsibilities, to build a future free of discrimination and prejudice. In conclusion, the establishment of a Holocaust Memorial and Museum in Palm Beach County is not just an investment in our history, it's an investment in our future. By providing our students with the tools to combat intolerance, we contribute to the creation of a more compassionate and just society. We need to take this opportunity to stand together and ensure that the voices of the past are heard, remembered, and most importantly, learned from.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ari Fixler.
Good afternoon. Ari Fixler from the Holocaust Museum. Mayor, City Commissioners, I'm sure you're aware the world is in turmoil. We are in times that can be defined as uncharted. I had people ask me, what is our history here on Clematis Street? And I answer them, over 100 years. It started when Henry Flagler told Jews they can't buy property, they can't lease property, rent property. But I highly doubt that those Jews in those times anticipated the Holocaust decades later, or after the Holocaust. Decades after that, the shooting attacks on synagogues and the anti-Semitism we're seeing across America right now, including here in this county. Somebody stopped me earlier and said, they can't believe America's this way. And I answer, it's not that way. It's not that way because I have been in other Holocaust museums just a week ago, and the majority of visitors are not Jews, are Americans. Americans, people come on Sunday with small children who feel that that is a tremendous asset to for their own culture and their own understanding and their own growth. There isn't a Holocaust museum today that doesn't have a strong connection, including new ones that are happening in Orlando and in other places that don't have a strong connection to the local city government. The city government, including the CRA, has a tremendous responsibility. You cannot escape that. In this time, this day and age, it's inexcusable. People will look back at this. The CRA must be given a mandate. It must be brought up to speed to every other city in America that's doing this right now. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, that's all the cards. Commissioners, board members will now turn to you for comments. We'll start with you, President Warren.
I have no comments, Mayor.
Commissioner Lambert,
No comments, thank you.
Commissioner Ward,
I just want to say thank you to the people who spoke today. I appreciate your comments. That's all.
Commissioner Fox,
No comments.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you, no comments.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rugg, are there any additions, deletions, reorganization of the agenda?
No, Mayor.
All right, fine. We'll head right into item 6.1, annual presentation by Dr. Alicia Nguyen regarding applied anthropological work completed over the last 12 months. Dr. Nguyen?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mayor, thank you, and Commissioners. I am Dr. Alicia Nguyen. I'm an applied cultural anthropologist. I'm also a CRA consultant and resident of the Historic Northwest. As a part of my presentation, as a part of my scope, as yearly, I am scheduled to present the work that I've done in the past year. Thankfully, this year will be the 7th year that I have served as a CRA consultant. So it has been an honor and a pleasure to continue this task, in which I so greatly appreciate, as well as serve as a 5-generational resident of the Historic Northwest. And so just as you can see, just very briefly, for time's sake, I just want to show you, just give you a background of what my scope and services has been for this year, which is the second year of a 3-year term of as a CRA consultant, community consultation, community engagement, and social and cultural impacts of designing specific projects. What's most important is I had the opportunity to provide cultural, residential, and community perspectives in CRA decision-making. So not only am I working within the community, I'm able to sit at the table literally every Monday at 9 a.m. and serve with the staff to give my input. And so I just want to go over here, and within this 3-year terms, I serve as on committees, the selection and advisory committee with the Sunset Lounge operations. I do attend some of those meetings, as well as provide feedback from the community, and I do conduct research. And in that term, I look at observation and participant observation to observe people's response, their reactions, and the input they give me, even on the side after meetings, which is the most important information I usually get. Also participate in giving input in public art. In this year, I had the pleasure to work with Nakisha Durrett, who will be providing the sculpture and artwork within the Heart and Soul Park. So I gave some history, and I've worked with her and gave her some background about the community, even connected her to some community elders to give insight that would impact her artwork. And then lastly, which is the largest one and the large amount of work that I did work on, which is the historic preservation planning. And I work with PDP architects, who were the consultants on this, and the former city historic planner, Frederick Mittner, and lastly, contributed to community input about historic planning. And I'll briefly talk a little bit more about that. And as you have seen throughout the years, we've had a lot of success in the preservation of our local history, particularly in connection with the CRA, and I had the opportunity to contribute to that and facilitate some of those projects, which includes historic plaques throughout the community, historic pioneer banners, and provide input and insight and connecting with heritage preservation and preservation groups for the Heart and Soul Park. However, with the historic planning project, it went a step further. And in that,
well, what we did is we connected with the community to provide and identify preservation sites, things that they thought was very important within the neighborhood, to preserve and present the history throughout the neighborhood. And so working with the consultants, working with the community, we got a lot of feedback. We had several meetings, and one of our larger meetings we had with the community elders at the Queen of Sheba restaurant, and they gave input about what was most important to them, and the narratives that would go along with those particular historic sites. And so within that, it was important to look at the recognition of those who elders deemed important, as well as providing effective community engagement. And as a result, we had a historic planning report. And again, we provided community feedback, determining even what decades of representation you have. For instance, Cityside Suite, there were several businesses from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and how much of those businesses and historic businesses do you put in those reports? And so it was very important to really talk with community residents, community elders, as well as stakeholders to provide that. And then how and what to present and how to implement it. And then what I did was I did a lot of the editing of the report to ensure proper language, culturally appropriate language, to ensure dates and times. And so, and lastly, with this, and this is part of what I do, is proper and effective community engagement, looking at reporting information or partnerships, and there's a difference in those two, and developer accountability. And so, for example, if you look at the image at the bottom left, that is a Cracker Johnson plaque, which was initially part of a plaque project that was in the ground in front of the property. And so once the grand was built, we had a community connection partnership to ensure that that plaque get mounted on the wall. And so we're very glad of that successful end. And so goals and next steps. What's important to me, and even our ongoing projects, to identify opportunities for the Northwest resident homeownerships. There are many residents in the neighborhood that want to stay in the neighborhood, but they may be renters, so that's very important. Increase North resident participation and representation and decision makings, and making sure that they are at the table, particularly at community meetings. Heart and Soul Park activation, as you can see to your right. This is an image of Abasi Hanif of Living the Rhythm. He has weekly African drumming during the week, particularly on Thursdays and Fridays in the park with the kids in the neighborhood, and we want to continue things like that. Positive presentation and representation of the historic Northwest, consultation outside partnerships and projects for success. It is important for those projects or departments, even in the city, to understand the history, the culture of the neighborhood when they start new projects in the neighborhood. Implementation of the historic preservation plan, and that's where we are right now. How do we want to present the history and the culture in addition to plaques, in addition to banners, and things like that. And then lastly, engagement for research, a Center for Smart Streetscapes. I'll be collaborating with Chris and the CS3 about the streetscapes as far as community engagement. And this is a thank you to Commissioner Fox for her work in the Adopt a Block on 6th Street and the continued work that we're looking forward to correcting the basic needs in the neighborhood. So thank you, Commissioner Fox. Thank you, Mayor. And any questions?
Thank you. First, let me publicly acknowledge and thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for all the work that you do. I think it's important as we continue to build in West Palm Beach a community of opportunity for all, that we are intentional about understanding our history and not ignoring it, acknowledging it, and incorporating that as part of our messaging moving forward. You only work with the historic Northwest, right? Do you do any work with Coleman Park and Pleasant City?
Sometimes when I'm asked or for some input, yes, but mainly the historic Northwest.
All right, and that's because you're under a CRA contract.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we need to have a conversation about whether you can be employed by the city. It doesn't make sense, and I know the history of hopscotching over one of the neighborhoods when they created the CRA. We're not going to revisit that, but I think with those neighborhoods having such rich history, all three of them, Coleman Park, Pleasant City, and Historic Northwest, it does not make sense that a similar effort is not being done in all three of those neighborhoods. And so if we've got to get you employed by the city so that you can expand the scope of your work, then we need to have that conversation. So stay tuned. I will speak to the city administrator and we'll come up with a strategy for doing that, because what you're doing is so important as we move forward, as we grow as a city, that we do not lose sight of our very rich history.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Lambert, then Commissioner Ward, Commissioner Fox.
Thank you so much. I always look forward to this presentation every year. It's refreshing to see your perspective and to just see the culmination of the work that you've done. I remember sitting, I think it was during COVID, sitting on a Zoom lecture that you did about applied anthropology to others who might be interested in the field. And I just feel very fortunate that the CRA is so forward-thinking to have you as a consultant for this, because I believe that your findings are extremely important to our work, and that's evident by what you have shown us, so that we ensure that everyone's cultural perspectives are taken into consideration. So thank you for that. My question relates to, you were talking about community engagement, and I'm just curious, over the 7 years that you've been working with the CRA, and maybe most recently post-COVID, how have you seen some of our community outreach change, or maybe some suggestions that you might have for just growing with the times? And I'm just curious if it's stayed the same over the past 7 years, if you've seen different ways that people engage with us, so that we make sure that we're capturing all of the information and feedback from our community.
I see that, and I always share this because I work very closely with the marketing coordinator, Ansley Lacey, about using multiple methods to communicate. And I always say people may not use email, but they're on their phone. And so text messaging is always a very, very big deal. And so throughout, even in COVID, that really hasn't changed. But what's most important is now the technology of texting. Even if you don't have an email address, you somehow have a phone, and that has been the biggest one, as well as door-to-door, door signs, and particularly in the historic Northwest, as well as yard signs. Those are the three big ones that I push about people, depending on the neighborhood, you have to go with what's the culture of the neighborhood to fit that type of marketing and community engagement. And those three, particularly for the historic Northwest, has been the most effective. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward.
Well, Mayor, you read my mind, and thank you so much for asking about including Coleman Park and Pleasant City. I think it's so important, and I think the work that you're doing will help, like, at least, you know, there's that gap between Coleman Park and Pleasant City where they're not part of the CRA, and they're always asking, you know, we've got history, you know, we need more resources. So thank you so much, Mayor, because I really appreciate that, and I think that the community is going to appreciate that as well. My question to you is, what do you think the biggest win has been from your time serving as the consultant, even more recently? Can you think of anything that's like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is why we're making a difference?
I think the biggest win, one, is I could not have done what I have done. One is being a resident in the neighborhood. So not only I do bring this cultural perspective in my profession, but experiencing from a resident's eyes, that has been the most helpful to, even at the table. We've been working with Chris and the CRA and being open to receive that particular information. The biggest win is people are now more engaged and want to know what's going on more and more. And they see the outcome of things being done versus in the past, there's not a lot of hope they just say, oh yeah, sure. But now they see it and they're more engaged and they're very vocal. But you see people on the ground, residents, business owners are more engaged and wanting to know what's going on. So our community meetings are increasing. They're getting bigger because people are connected more. and we made an intentional effort to do so. So I'm very proud of that, to see more people engaged and more involved and asking more questions, but they see results a lot more now. Yeah.
Can you say that one more time, please?
They
I'm
see
sorry.
more results.
And Commissioner, you shouldn't say publicly that I read your mind. That might be a sunshine law violation, I think, but it's all right, I'm only kidding. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you so much. I think you read my mind because that's exactly what I was going to say. Dr. Nguyen, I am just so thankful to you for all that you've done as a neighbor and a resident, as well as being a consultant, because I think what I've noticed just in my time here is that the historic Northwest is, the neighbors there are beginning to call more. They're beginning to know that they can report things, and that wasn't always the case, and I want that to continue. I want people to know that they're welcome to call us if there's issues in their neighborhood, and that we are very receptive to that, and I think that's in large part because of the work that you're doing. So thank you for that, and also thank you for documenting the elders in the neighborhood. I have had the opportunity to watch a few of your videos, and it's really incredible. So I hope that you can share it with all of my colleagues too that might not have had the chance. So just thank you again for everything.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you again, Dr. Nguyen. We truly appreciate your work, and we want to see if we can expand your services into Pleasant City and Coleman Park.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Item 7.1, resolution number 23-28, approving the reappointment of John Carpenter to the Community Redevelopment Agency Advisory Board for the Northwoods Pleasant City CRA. Mr. Rube, I'll tee this up.
Mayor, I have no formal presentation for this. John, this would be his second term. John's been a very great member of the CRA Advisory Board, serving in many capacities, helping with art and public places projects, as well as some other things related to businesses, and just generally a very helpful member of the CRA Advisory Board, and John does great work. So,
All right. Questions, comments? Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. I'm supportive of this. I just actually had a question on the backup related to other positions. It lists number 4, that a position that's filled by Craig Glover, and I know that he recently resigned from that position. So is this position also open?
Correct. Craig, the positions are, he'll continue to be there until we finish it, but he did resign from the CRA Advisory Board at the last meeting at the end of October.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 23-28.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. We now turn to the consent calendar, items 8.1 and 8.2. Any questions, comments on consent? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move acceptance of the consent calendar as presented.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.1, resolution number 23-35, approving an amendment to the agreement among the City of West Palm Beach, the West Palm Beach CRA, and 300 Banyan LLC for the construction of city improvements in a portion of the 300 block alley located between Banyan Boulevard and Clematis Street, and resolution number 23-40F provides appropriations for phases 1 and 2 of the project in fiscal year 23-24. Ms. Aponte?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. A little bit of background information about this item. If you remember, last April 3rd, 2023, the city approved an agreement with 300 Banyan LLC for the construction of the improvements on the 300 Clematis Alley. This is a picture of the current condition of the alley, and the area indicates the extent of the alley. The approval of the agreements in April was for phase 1 of the project that was basically related with the construction of the new office building that Brand Atlantic is about to finish really soon. So the developer needed to do some improvements on the alley, and the city also had projected a project to improve this alley the same way it was done a few years back with the South Alley. So because of overlapping of work and the developer needed to do some work, it was agreed that it was more efficient for the developer to do the work on behalf of the city. So the terms of the agreement included that the developer will do the work for what it was identified as phase one. They were contributing $500,000 for the work, and the CRA was funding the $2.5 million additional needed for the work. The project is under construction, and they expect to finish the work in December. With the remaining work, that is like the FPL will have to come and remove the poles on the phase one portion of the work. That phase one included not only the improvements, but also the underground of the FPL and the AT&T and Comcast, and also the resurfacing of the alley with stamped concrete or pavers. This is the portion that it was identified as phase one. And then the intention was the city to proceed with phase two, that included the western portion of the alley and included additional funding, the remaining $2.5 million allocated for that, to complete the burying of the power lines for that section and complete the work in there. As the phase one move ahead, it was identified that some of the original scope that was contemplated to be included on phase two needed to be completed by the developer in phase one. This specifically is related to the conversion of the overhead to underground utilities for Comcast and AT&T. So the construction crew for the phase one will complete the underground of the AT&T and Comcast. They will put the conduits and complete that work, and they also will leave ready all the conduits for the underground of the power lines for the phase two. So that additional cost, it's additional funding that is required, is $450,000, but is not new funding. It's funding that was already allocated on the phase two, and we're just moving it to the phase one for the developer to complete it. So this is the portion of the phase two work that will be completed by the developer at the same time than phase one. So Resolution 2335 approves an amendment to the regional agreement between the City CRA and 300 Banyan LLC to include the additional scope. And the resolution, it's a companion item in the City Commission agenda, Resolution 29523, that will approve also the same change for the City Commission. Staff recommends approval of this resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement among City, CRA, and 300 Banyan LLC for an amendment to the construction of improvements of the alley, and Resolution 2340F appropriating the funds for the additional scope in phase one and phase two. This work continues to support Goal 4 of the Strategic Finance Plan, as the CRA actions intend to enhance downtown's pedestrian roam and improve pedestrian connectivity through alleyways. This project is included in Commission District Number 3, Commissioner Fox. That concludes the staff presentation, and Craig Mancio is here if you have any questions. So.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions, comments on this item? Commissioner Lambert?
Just a quick comment. I'm just grateful that the CRA is prioritizing these alleyways, and I just think that it goes a long way for the safety, security, and pedestrian access for our city. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution number 23-35 and Resolution number 23-40F.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.2, Resolution number 23-36F, transferring funds in an amount of $40,000 to the administrative expense lines for the security manager position. Ms. Aponte?
Mr. Roque is going to do that presentation.
Oh, this is Mr. Rowe.
Yes. Say hi, Mayor. I've been handling the security manager position and the funding. The F resolution normally would be handled by the fiscal manager, but we are in between fiscal managers currently, so I will be making this presentation on the item. So real quick, because this is an accounting matter, I am going to talk a little bit about sort of just the recap the position, what the resolutions will do, timeline of what you all can expect as it relates to the position, and happy to answer any questions that you all have. I show the Styx Promenade because this is one of the areas where we are having private security services provided. So you'll see some of these areas presented through the presentation. So the addition of a security manager, this was identified last fiscal year as a best practice when we were having conversations about many of our tactics related around addressing homeless and just security matters, and really speaking with the private sector and gathering information, and having this dedicated individual was sort of seen as a way to go. And as a result, we added it to the budget during the process of for this year, and the money is now allocated. The scope of the position is pretty straightforward. We want this individual to oversee the contract that we have for private security. They will also act as that liaison between our PD department and the private security. Also be a point of contact for the public if they have any questions, concerns, items that have come up that they would like to see addressed, or questions that they may have. And then also be able to sort of be that regular source of information, and to constantly stay on top of innovative policing. This all really just generates around the innovative policing aspects that are allocated in Chapter 163 that governs the West Palm Beach CRA. And then, of course, it will be a city employee position, so the person will answer to city administration and the CRA executive director. The areas where we have private security, we added one more this year, but Sunset Lounge, Heart and Soul Park, and Styx Promenade, those are all pretty close to one another, as indicated by the picture below. And then also Broadway was a big success this year, seeing a lot of quality of life matters addressed. And as a result, we are now expanding into Pleasant City to, again, address very similar situations like Broadway, but also to provide some security services there. We do have the job description drafted, and it is being circulated inside City Hall, and we've allocated between the two CRA districts approximately $200,000, and that's everything, benefits, the whole 9 yards. So the resolutions, there's actually two you'll see on the agenda, and so I've kind of created a presentation that covers both. But Resolution 2337, that governs the downtown city center budget, and is the lion's share of the allocated funds. So this transfers $160,000 of that 200 to administrative expenses, and Resolution 2336 does the same for the Pleasant City Broadway CRA, and that transfers the remaining $40,000. So these were funds that were already budgeted. But being able to transfer them to administrative expenses allows us to actually spend the funds for the position. So the timeline as it looks now, really having the resolutions presented tonight, and then from there we can begin posting the position, and then we'll move as aggressively as we can. This is generally a timeline where each month you can expect a critical step to get this person on board. I think ideally we'll try to beat the timeline of February, but I figured February is probably a good estimate of when we can have this person on board. Happy to answer any questions. It does impact both districts, and as I mentioned, it does fall under the innovative policing statutory enabling legislation that allows CRAs to help provide security. Happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rugg. Any questions? Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Fox.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, because you mentioned communication between, with the residents, how much my residents communicate with PSC directly, and now the new position with Brian. So I just want to make sure there's not going to be a directive or anything like that that says they have to go through the city representative. If they want to have conversations, fantastic. But, they expect accountability with the PSC representatives, and so going directly to them, communicating directly with them. I think the merchants in particular are used to that, and then also the businesses along Broadway, just speaking for my district, that it's important that we make sure that that's clear, that it's not going to relieve any duties of communication on behalf of anybody at PSC.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, yes, Commissioner, the position is not intended to keep folks from communicating with PSC. If anything, that would seem counterproductive. PSC is constantly walking the neighborhood, and having that regular touch point with PSC has proven to be helpful. I know many of the business owners, specifically in Northwood Village, have found it, they have a great relationship with PSC. And the new point of contact, Brian DeJoy, is also, building on those relationships, him and Matthew. So I see that continuing. It would be just an additional source of input for the community to reach out relating to security matters.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you. I have two questions. The first is, on the list of neighborhoods, I didn't see the downtown listed on the Comata Street. I wasn't sure. I know that some of it falls under the DDA, but I guess just for the ease of use, will the Comata Street be included under this position?
So yes, I mean, the security manager is intended to sort of look at everything holistically. But yes, I didn't want to include the downtown because it is a DDA contract. These are just areas that are specifically, and I just pointed it out to kind of show the breadth of places where we have private security. But the DDA, that will be seamless, as that relationship is pretty solid. So we'll be sure that the security manager is in regular communication with the executive director, and since they're sort of managing all of them, that should be relatively easy to address.
You had a second question?
Yes. I just wanted to ask, what were your plans, I guess, once we have this person in place, to introduce them to the police department and to PSC, I guess, to make sure that is all a seamless relationship?
Yeah, I think initially there'll be probably a month or two of onboarding where we'll be taking the individual around and having discussions just to get them familiar with the police department and with the different areas of the CRA. We already have many of those regular community meetings set up, and there'll be regular attendees to those meetings, whether it's with the Pleasant City, the Historic Northwest, the CRA Advisory Board, the Northwood Business Association, frankly, anywhere that the PSC services are being applied. If there is a meeting that they can attend and answer questions, they'll be required to attend those. So it'll just be an additional person essentially to the CRA staff.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of resolution number 23-26F.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, 9.3, resolution number 23-37F, transferring funds in the amount of $160,000 to the administrative expense lines for the security manager position. It's basically the same presentation, right?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, any questions on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 23-37F.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.4, resolution number 23-39, approving a third amendment to the development incentive agreement between the West Palm Beach Community Redevelopment Agency and POTP LLC, DBA Parkland on the Park, to extend the project completion date to March 31st, 2024. This was Ms. Aponte?
This will be me again, Mayor.
Okay, well, why is she at the stage then? Okay, that's
She's just
fine.
helping keep.
That's fine, that's fine. Go ahead, Mr. Rube. I'm
Okay.
confused.
So Park West, this is resolution 2339. This is a great project that Mr. Kozakoff's in the audience with us, and I'll ask him to talk a little bit about his project here in a moment, and is essentially just requesting a little bit of extra time to address some issues related to just finishing up the project. So just to familiarize everybody, for any questions out there, it's located close to Curry Park at the corner of Piccadilly and Broward. This is 102 units, 4-story multifamily. Great project. And as part of the project, it needed quite a bit of infrastructure improvement that was requested by Neil. and the project to complete. And the construction is underway. However, due to some supply chain issues and the infrastructure work that's needed, the occupancy rate has been pushed back to 2024. This isn't the first time that we've amended the project. It's like any project, it does go through some ebbs and flows, but the original incentive was the $260,000 for the infrastructure, as well as some TIF incentives that would help not to exceed $2 million for the project deadline for leasing and occupancy in December. And those, we had to add a little more funding because the infrastructure improvements were larger than expected. The scope increased. And so earlier this year, we added $97,000 in incentive funding to cover those expenses for a total infrastructure improvement of $357,000, and then extending the deadline of the project to December 31st of this year. However, due to and I'd like Neil to come up and talk about some of the challenges that he is facing, but they're not insurmountable. But as a result of some of those challenges, Neil is requesting another extension to the deadline of an additional 90 days of March 31st, 2024, just so that he can finish up those infrastructure improvements and address some of the supply chain issues that the project's facing. So at this point, Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to Neil.
Let's do that because we only got a few more minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm glad to be back here again on this project. The project actually started in 2012. But it takes a long time to get these things done sometimes. But anyway, so we're about 95% done. And we just, as Chris articulated, we have had two issues that have set us back a little bit. We've had supply chain issues, which I would like to say are getting resolved. And we've also had infrastructure issues where just when you dig into old infrastructure, which is what you have in Northwood, some of it's 100 years old, you find more and more and more stuff. And so it's become a partnership with the engineering department at the city to continuously upgrade and increase the infrastructure. So, I think it's pretty clear. Park West we're adding jobs. We're stabilizing the neighborhood. As many of you know, we have 312 Northwood, which we completed 5 years ago. And it's been a huge success, and it has contributed to stabilizing the neighborhood. We have, I'm proud to say, virtually no crime around our building. Everybody's safe, and we thought we would rely more on the security, the Northwood security, and we really don't have to, because it's kind of like it's kind of an anchor in the neighborhood. And this is going to be another anchor. This is going to be part two. We have a lot of interest, and we're probably 60, 75 days from completion. And our request here is just to add another. This is what the building looks like right now. Just to add another 90 days so we can get over the hump and complete the project. So your endorsement of the extension would be truly appreciated. Questions?
Very good. Thank you for that presentation. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 23-39.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Hearing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. See how
Thank
easy
you all,
that
and I
was?
look forward to you all coming to the opening party.
You were so convincing in your presentation. sir.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Okay, that is the final item on this agenda, so the CRA meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.